the things, man. All the things that I am today are due to those years there. They are. It's a combination of my years there and also my years as a lawyer as well. I started working at law firms in 2009, and I dropped 2017. So it was like many years in that sort of environment, visiting courts and seeing people's struggles in general. Yeah, all those things shaped the dancer that I am today. Like
Hey,
yeah,
so I am now on the line with a Mr. Guilherme Prada, who is a Brazilian Zouk dancer as well as instructor at District Zouk in DC, Washington DC.
yes,
If I'm not mistaken, sir, you have a background dancing in forró, samba de gafayera, saltinho, bolero, zouk, and as well as Argentino tango. Is that correct?
yeah,
Hey, that's
exactly.
amazing, man. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you currently live in Washington D.C., but right now you are in, well, you live in D.C., but you're born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil,
Yes,
and that's where you currently are now. Correct? You're in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, your hometown.
yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. How are you doing today, Guillermo?
Oh man, I'm I'm pretty good here. I'm visiting family and everybody, my friends from back in the day, and I'm also studying too, taking classes, teaching classes, but mostly taking classes here on all those things that you mentioned,
Oh man, that's
not
awesome.
only in Zouk.
Okay, so is it safe to assume that are you a full time dancer? Is that your job?
Thank God, yes. Now I'm a full-time dancer.
Oh man, that sounds so amazing, man.
It is. It is quite cool.
And it's so different, man. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Me personally, man. So I have like a 9 to 5 job, man.
Hmm.
So I guess let me ask you this, man. I know we have like this little format I like to do when I do these interviews, man. But let's just like jump right into it, man. I'm very curious to hear from you, man. What is it like being a full time dancer, or what is that life like?
So my life is like I'm half local instructor and I'm half a traveling instructor. So I teach in the weekdays and I normally travel on the weekends to another town, another city in the US to teach. Sometimes this year I went to Europe and it is crazy because you think you think that your work is going to be less demanding because you are not working 9 to 5, but it can be a lot more because you have your teaching hours, but you also have preparation hours. You also have administrative stuff to do. So you manage classes, students, you send descriptions, you do posts on Facebook, on Instagram. You are constantly on, and it is a very fulfilling life because you get to meet these amazing people everywhere you go. People treat you super well, like you get off the airport, there's somebody there to pick you up and they take you to eat and they take care of your lodging and all this stuff. It's so amazing, so beautiful, like when I was a lawyer it was a complete opposite. So it's like I tell people that it's like I'm living a fairy tale because it feels like a fairy tale. It's just like a unreal life in which I get hired to teach people how to embrace better, how to move, how to feel good. So it's a very interesting life, a very amazing life, and I'm totally very blessed to be doing what I do right now.
That,
And
that
and
sounds
that's it. And that's it. The life is very is a lot of work. That there's a lot of work involved. You are your own product. So you gotta work hard, man.
I would say, man, you're
whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing for the channel. Let's get back to the video.
I would say, man, you are definitely an entrepreneur, correct? You know, you run your business, right? And no one's gonna do it
Yes,
for you, correct?
exactly. You totally run your own business. So you
Um,
are your own business.
no, I definitely understand that, man. Let me ask you this real quick, man. I'm very curious to hear, man. Let's say for someone else, man, who wants to live the life you do, man. You know, they want to be, you know, a full-time dancer, a full-time instructor, man. Tell me, man, what is required? What is required of someone to get to where you are at? What did you have to do in your life to be the person who you are today?
Man, that's a very, very interesting question. Thank you for making it. Because I, it's a mix of many things. Like to be fair, because I'm Brazilian and I'm teaching a Brazilian dance, the fact that I'm those things, it makes my life, my path to this life easier than if, for example, a French person comes here to the US and wants to teach Zouk, or an American, or so my cultural background gives me a lot of a head start. That's something that is worth mentioning, because it's like a to be fair, like my student said once that because I have an accent, some of the things I say are more believable. Like they told me once that if an American would have said the same things I said, because they are Americans and they don't have an accent, would sound strange. So the culture, like who I am in the world, makes my life easier on this end. The other thing too, I feel like you gotta study dance a lot, and not only study dance but experience dance a lot. So take as many classes as you can, go to as many socials as you can, parties, events, congresses, workshops, and be introduced to as many styles of teaching as you can. I got the luck to have 7 to 9 instructors at the same time when I was learning how to dance, and that provided me with an array of references. So I had many references. I knew I could choose the styles that I liked, the styles that I didn't like. I mean, teaching wise, and be curious. So that's another thing too. So like the effort to learn the craft. And the third thing I would say is charisma. I feel like a dance instructor has to be inspiring. It has to inspire people to stay there, because learning how to dance can be a very frustrating experience in the beginning. eh? Uh, you are learning about your body more than anything else. So your body is raw, and you are teaching your body all these new things that your body had no idea how to do. You didn't know you had this muscle, you had this capability, you have this flexibility. So you have to be patient and with your body, but as an instructor, you gotta work on your charisma so you can inspire people to move on, to continue. And I would say too, nowadays where competition is really fierce, like you have many good people in the market teaching how to dance. Uh, you work your speaking skills. Speak well, speak correctly. Uh, Charisma, like I said, and and work your own material. Like create something that's yours, so you can have an edge. So it's like entrepreneurship. You create your own material and you present it to the public, You present it with charisma, with attention and care, and it's gonna work. I see a lot of people pursuing this life of a dance instructor full time, uh, and I get to witness their struggles, you know, and it is quite hard to live off art. Is quite hard. It's really hard. Uh, so I see how they have to overcome a lot of frustration because there is no money, there is no work, there is nothing. There is a little bits here and there. Yeah, so I think those would be the elements to become a full-time dance instructor. But I think that the most important one, if I would say, is like seek references as many as you can, many references you can, and many instructors, dancers, professionals, like take their classes, follow them, see how they do their thing. You know, you get so much inspiration out of that. So I think that would be the main tip that I would give people.
That's awesome, man. Let me ask you this, man. You kind of already spoke on it, man. You said that in today's time, you face a lot of competition. I'm very curious, man, for yourself and maybe for advice to others. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you separate yourself from the pack and everyone else?
That's such a hard question. Uh, oh my God. Uh, it's so hard to self-assess, to talk about yourself in this way. Uh, I feel like I separate from the pack. Uh, Maybe I think I think the delivery of the material that I give is what separates me from the pack. I feel like I work very hard on the delivery, and I'm consciously trying to make it light for the students, and I use humor a lot. So I study humor, and I I I try to to have to sell or to present dance, especially Zouk, as something reachable, doable. Like uh, it's something. So my work is with fundamentals a lot. So I have been focused on fundamentals. I have been focused on dancing close embrace. I have been focusing on comfort on the dance. So I think I differentiate from the pack because I think I was able to create a way to deliver the the knowledge about basics, close embrace, comfortable dance in a way that is reachable and doable. Like people can grasp. So I think that's where I would that's where I was able to rise on the ranks. It all happened really fast, man. It happened in the span of 2 years. My first class was in November 2017. We are in January 2020, and everything like was super fast. So it's even hard for me to tell you how things are because it's all very crazy. Like I'm still trying to what's happening, this kind of
And
thing.
and real quick, I want to say this, man. You say it all happened kind of fast, man, but I imagine all the work you put in, it finally just paid off. It wasn't an overnight
Yeah.
thing for you, correct?
Yes. I feel like the overnight was the rise, the as a dance instructor, and I realized I was living off of it. I was paying rent off of it. I was paying stuff off of it. And I realized I didn't need to do anything anymore besides dancing. Uh, and then I realized my whole life was about it. All I talk about is dancing. All I do is dancing. all the things I see on the internet about dancing, all the YouTube videos, everything. You know.
That's
So
awesome, man.
yes, I've been dancing for 13 years, but the last two were like the craziest ones.
Um, that's awesome, man. So I guess I wanna kind of just take it back then, man. I'm very curious to hear. I've never been to Brazil, man. I'm very curious to hear, man. What was your childhood like growing up in Rio de Janeiro? What was that like for you?
Oh man, I had the best childhood ever. I here in Rio, the suburbs have a different meaning from the US. So I grew up in the suburbs of Rio, and the suburbs is the poor slash middle class area. We don't have those big houses with lawns, like they are small houses all glued together to each other. There are some big houses, of course, but they are further away from the center. I had the best childhood because I grew up in I don't know, como é que se diz vila em inglês?
Small street with houses.
Yeah, so I grew up in a sort of there is
Private small.
like a small it's a small street with houses lined up one close to each other, and there were a bunch of kids over there. So I was a kid, and my grand my grandfather brothers were all live there. So I had these second degree cousins all over the place. So I grew up playing a lot on the streets, jumping walls and hiding in the woods kind of thing, and getting hurt all over my knees and my elbows, like doing all sorts of things, and of course playing a lot of video games, playing Sonic, and we couldn't afford a Nintendo because it was super expensive, but we could afford the other one, the Mega System. So, and I had the best childhood because we would like just play outside all the time, and I had very strict rules growing up, so I had to be home by 9 and stuff like that. But I have absolutely nothing to complain. And I grew up in a time that the suburbs in Rio were safe, were safer. So we could stay outside. We could buy ourselves. Like I was 5 years, 6 years old, and I would buy myself to buy bread at the bakery. So this kind of thing. So, and my neighborhood that had a lot of immigrants. My grandfather is an immigrant. He's Portuguese, and we had all sorts of other European people. They were over there. Like they owned the bakery. They owned the market. So we would just hang around there, and I had a pretty good childhood until I was like 8, and then I moved to a house and it was just me and my brother. So my childhood was reduced from playing outside to like watching Disney movies over and over again with my brother, playing table tennis with him, and then I basically played with my brother until my teenagehood. So I had a pretty good early childhood. I had a good later childhood, but the later one was more lonely. But it was fun anyways. No complaints at all.
How important was music in your household growing up?
Oh, uh, funny enough, it was not so important. Uh, my my father, I learned very later on that he had a very particular taste for a kind of rock music that was very long. It was like those 9, 10 minutes long progressive rock that they call here in Portuguese rock progressivo. I don't know how it's called here there, uh, but I never heard him hearing that. So, but he has all the records and stuff. He would listen a lot to classical music with us. So we would sleep listening to classical music. We would uh, we would in the car driving. He would tune into the classical music station, and we would just listen to that. So from very early on, I got used to old music, to like this kind of music. My mom had a more taste for like for soul and R&B, like and funk. So I got I would walk around with a record of an artist called Tim Maia, which was a soul singer here from Brazil. Uh, but mainly, I think my it's a very interesting question because I never thought about it, and now that you're asking is making me thinking about it. And I feel like my biggest reference was maybe classic music. Funny enough, you know. Uh, I think that's maybe why I liked tango immediately. I liked tango before the dance. I liked the music first because there were violins and pianos and so yeah, that's I think music was not something that was highlighted, but the way I was introduced to music was like as a very small person listening to classic music to go to sleep. Listening to Enya. My mom would play Enya. You know Enya?
I don't think I do.
Oh, it's like a new age kind of band. They have this song called "Say Away," which is very like epic and kind of chill. And I just remember that she would play those things for me. And then I got this taste for old music. So I was a 10 years old boy listening to disco music a lot, you know, and a lot of disco music. And I would go to disco music parties and stuff. And I had this CDs like with the golden age songs, and so songs from the 40s, from the 50s. That's those very cheesy ones like I Can't Stop Loving You, like this kind of old uh, music. And yeah, I just developed this taste for this kind of things. Like anything it's old, I like. Yeah.
I get you. I definitely understand that, man. I'm very
Yeah.
curious, man. So, you kind of spoke on the music, man. I'm very curious. How important was dancing in your household? Did you grow up dancing or not really? Not at all.
I did. I did. My mom danced. My mom always danced, and I have always had a thing for dancing. So in the 90s, it became very popular. Big bands, like big groups of people singing, in which two or three would sing and all the rest would just dance. And we had all this choreography stuff, and I would mimic the choreographies with a friend that I had. So the late 90s, mid 90s were full of these things here in Brazil. We had so many of them. And each song had a very particular routine, and I would just do it, you know. And I remember that in the Sweet 16 parties, when I was, because here in Brazil, you celebrate the Sweet 16 would be at 15 years old of age. So those parties, they would play forró. That is one of the partner dances here in Brazil. And for some reason, I would naturally want to dance that. I don't know if it was because I could be close to a girl or because I liked the feeling of dancing together, but I would like do that without any proper knowledge. I would see what was happening and try to do. So dancing has been always kind of always there, always there, but not
Yeah,
like
that's awesome.
explicitly. Yeah.
I get you, man. And so let me ask you this, man. Going back to when you were a child, man, I'm very curious to know, do you remember what you wanted to be when you grew up? Was it to be a
Hmm.
lawyer, or was it to be a dancer, or was it something totally different?
Hmm. Huh. Ah, man, I don't remember. if I don't remember wanting to be something specific, because I've always had my parents tell me stuff, like things that I should do, you know. So I don't think I ever had like a want to be something until very late, until I started to discover my interests in life. But in those early stages, I would just go by what they were telling me, like do well at school and to to progress. And because my father is military and my mom is a public servant as well. Uh, so she's retired now. They're both retired, but they both worked for the government, and they wanted me to do the same because it's stable, So that was kind of my goal, like to have a public job, whatever that was. So I didn't have like a goal, like a thing I wanted to be until later. Yeah.
I get you. I get you, man. Let me ask you this, man. For myself, I've never been to Brazil, man. So I'm very curious to hear from you, man. Um, in your lifetime, man, how has Rio de Janeiro, how has Brazil, how has it changed from when you were a child to, what you see today?
Jesus, man, so much, so much. I remember as a child to be able to trust people more. Like we would, my grandmother would ask me to buy bread, to get bread, and ask me to ask the baker to put the purchase in a sort of a notebook thing that he had. So my grandmother trusted that he would put the fair amount, the exact amount of bread that I took, and he would trust that my grandmother would pay at the end of the month. So the relations of trust, they were very present in my childhood. I remember not carrying money at all. I would just go to the places and get the thing, and the owner would just put it on my grandmother's notebook, and she would pay him later, And I remember when that stopped happening, when they started to put signs to say that they don't accept that anymore. Uh, uh, this little street with houses that I used to live as a child was open, and then as there was a slum like really close to where I lived, like really close. I lived on a hill, and the top of the hill there was a very small slum, and my grandmother were friends with the old ladies that would live up there. But then things started to get violent, so my grandfather had to put a gate on the entrance of that little street, and eventually we had to move because the violence was becoming too much. Uh, and then I think uh, the ability to play on the streets started to decrease. We could not do that anymore because afraid of getting shot by somebody that like pulled the trigger miles away and the bullets would just come. This became a thing in the late beginning of the 2000s. Like people would get hit by we call lost bullets, bullets that came flying out of somewhere. And then the city started to get violent in the place that I used to live, and ugly. And so all the people that were there originally moved. I moved. My grandparents moved. So Rio Rio definitely decreased in terms of safety and the relations of trust between people as well. And that was the thing that got me the most. Was not even the violence. Was the loss of on the trust that people had, that my mother had on the baker. Like this kind of simple things started to decrease, and we had these very neighborhood strong relations. Everybody in the neighborhood would know each other, and we had the neighborhood parties and the neighborhood celebrations and this kind of stuff. And this all started to stop as well. They don't exist anymore, because people moved and went to other places, fleeing from violence. So they started moving more south of Brazil, of Rio, I mean. Uh, and yes, I think for me that was my impression as a kid. We had all this open space, then we had a gate, né? Then we would start to hear shots coming from the slum, right, very close to us, and we had to like run to go home, to go inside. And I remember the signs on the stores, like, we don't accept this kind of purchase anymore. And yeah, I feel like this it's a weird feeling of uh, losing losing all the cool stuff that you were able to do, and you were more free, now, and then not so much anymore. Yeah.
I got this lady vacuuming right now.
It's okay.
But I'm just worried about the audio quality. I wanted to ask you though, man. I'm very curious to hear from you, man. Can you put into words? I guess, do you know why things got progressively worse? Do you know what happened? Can you say what happened?
It's I feel like it's a it's a it's a consequence of many things. Like, there were no investments in good education for many, many years. They would just take poor people and push them away, like, away from the centers. So there is this thing of no investment at all in education. There are social tensions in Brazil, regarding young black people. Like, there is an assumption regarding them. Uh, there is corruption in all levels of government, from the most simple thing to the high end. Uh, uh, yes, I would say, like, no investments in social development, no investment in education, and corruption. Those things started to evolve and to mature into a state of things that are very hard to control right now. So you have very young kids growing up in an environment that is full of violence. So that's all they see. That's all the reference they have, you know. So when they grow up, it's very hard for them not to pursue this path. Uh, but society in general judge them because they think, oh, they should know better. But no, they don't. So it's a accumulation of things that took Rio to this situation, and a lot of financial instability as well due to corruption. Rio had a boom on petroleum when they found the new fields outside of the state, and the cities around the petroleum area bloomed, but all the money was taken somewhere else, and then all of a sudden there was no more money, and then all the four former Rio de Janeiro governors, they're all in jail right now. The four last governors that we had, they are all in jail. You know, so that says a lot. All the secretaries, like the education, the health secretary, also in jail. The former ones. So it's definitely a lot of state representatives also in jail, like big case of corruption. You know, so
Yeah,
it's
okay.
a yeah, it's accumulation of many things.
I've heard, I've never been, but I've heard that Brazil can be kind of rough, man. That it can be
It
quite
can be,
dangerous at times. Yeah.
yes, it can be. it can be very dangerous. Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. I left Rio for a while because I was tired. You know, I went to the West because I was tired of Rio. No, so yeah, it can be rough. I was robbed 9 times here in Brazil. And
Wow.
yeah, and like 5 of those times were at gunpoint, and so I was like really really tired, of uh, living in a situation in which I had to um, be always aware of my surroundings. I had to be always aware, like leaving the house, getting back into the house, this kind of stuff, because I live in a region of town that is more likely for stuff like that to happen, you know. So people, there are other regions of town that are less likely for that to happen.
And real quick,
And
and where were you at exactly? At what part of town was it specifically?
right now,
I guess where you said it was more likely for you to get robbed. Where was that at specifically? I'm very curious.
it's in the suburbs. It's in they call the North Zone and parts of the West Zone. Yeah. So I have the North and the West, the South and downtown. So downtown, North and West regions of the West are more likely. The South is safer in general, but also some neighborhoods of the South are became very very tricky to walk around. It's like the old neighborhoods closer to downtown, so it's it's such just to have an idea, the post office, 30% of Rio, the post office doesn't cover because it's considered higher areas of risk. So if you live in one of those areas and you want to have your package delivered to you, you have to go to the distribution center to get your package. So sometimes it's hard for us to get an Uber back home if it's too late because they don't know. Some people don't know this area very much, and we have to explain it that it's. I'm still living in an area that's kind of cool, that's kind of chill, kind of. But we still face sometimes this kind of things here.
Okay, man, that's intense, man. We spoke on this. I'm very curious, man. So I guess for you growing up was maybe dancing maybe your escape from all this, or did you have other? It was dancing your escape.
My no, my escape was actually video games and role playing game, RPG. I was a hardcore geek, I would watch animes and, and play video games and RPG and movies and Star Wars and Star Trek and Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all this kind of stuff. I was like a severe geek, and and that was my escape. There was a chill to it, There was like a you get into this world in which everything is good and perfect, But after I started dancing, then dancing became my thing. Before I was dancing, my thing was the geekiness of this life. I miss it, to be
There's nothing wrong
honest.
with that, man. I said there's nothing wrong with that, man. I was right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I miss it. It was some good times, very very good times. Yeah.
And so let me ask you this, man. You said at one point you were big into I guess your geek days. I'm curious. What or why did you start to I guess get into dance? What influenced you to get into it, or why did you get into it?
So, uh, my I as a shy kid, no, as a shy person in general, I had few friends. Had this group of people that I would become very friends with, and I would have lots of difficulties interacting outside of that group. So I didn't feel that I was good at anything. I I was very good at being an RPG player, so I was a dwarf warrior badass, in my imagination. but but besides that, I was terrible at all the other things. So I started pursuing something that I could do that would differentiate me in a way that would make people like me somehow. Uh, but then for some reason I went for religions. So I visited many different kinds of religions here in Rio, the Asian ones, the African ones, the 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 Protestants. All I was raised Catholic, uh, but then I watched a movie. I watched Shall We Dance? Do you know this movie? Shall We Dance? 2004. Richard Gere and Jennifer Lopez. I watched this movie and was a guy that, of course, like considering the realities, he was in a situation that was very much like me. He had a good job. I was at a very good school. He had a nice family, very loving, and I have an amazing, loving family. Uh, but he was feeling that something was missing, and then he found partner dancing. You know, uh, and then because of partner dancing, he made this new group of friends, and he started to do something that that he felt good about, and then he was good about. He was good doing that. So I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And the next day, I went on Google and researched partner dancing, and then I found a place close by. That was 2004, and then I started. But I was in the end of high school. I was like beginning of high school. I mean, middle high school. Uh, so I didn't have much time to dedicate. So I would dance more or less when I could, and then in 2006 I really started. So it was that was that was why I started dancing, because of a movie and because of how the movie made me feel in relation to the point that I was in my life back then. Yeah.
I understand that, man, and it's kind of crazy the way things work out. The person you are today can maybe be attributed to just that movie, man, which is so crazy.
Exactly. It's super crazy.
Real quick, what was the name of that school you attended back in 2004, 2006?
Man, 2004 was not even a school, it was a gym, a very like lousy gym close by. And the back they had an open space, and there was a couple, two instructors, a man and a woman, teaching Brazilian partner dances. So they were teaching Bolero, Samba, Forró, and Soutinho, but mostly Bolero.
Do you remember their names at all? Just like a little quick shout out.
I remember her name. Her name was Raquel. Raquel. And I don't remember his name anymore because she remained, she stayed with me longer. Even after she was the one that told me about the existence of the studio that I spent most of my dancing life at, because she studied there too. You know.
And so is that the one that you started in 2006?
Yes,
And
yes.
and what was the name of that studio?
Is Jaime Arocha Dance Studio.
Okay, I've heard of that.
That
Someone else I
in
know. I
Portuguese
see a
is
lot.
no. The Brazilian name is Escola de Dança Jaime Arocha. Would be Jaime Arocha Dance School, but I know in the US school has a different connotation to the word, so it will be dance studio. Yeah.
No, but I'm pretty sure I know. I've interviewed some other people who attended that school as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty
Yes.
sure. Um I'm blanking on his name, but okay. And so I'm very curious, man. So you started that back in 2006. Um, please tell me, what was your beginner stage like? I'm very curious to hear about that.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was the best of the best because it was very over. It was stimulating. Like it was packed all the time. You had all these people going back and forth, all these instructors, and for me, everything looked so beautiful and like mesmerizing. So I just remember being mesmerized all the time. And the team was pretty big. So as a beginner, I they would assign people to help the beginners, to help the team, the beginners of the team. So it was me, my brother, and two other friends. So I was not alone. And uh, we would just stay in a corner with seven people around us, like speeding us up into the dance. And also imagine like this 17-year-old boy, very shy, like all of a sudden being close to all these beautiful people, all these beautiful women, dancing very close to them. So I was like, what is happening? So I went through a stage of like understanding what was going on around me. So it was amazing, amazing. It was definitely like side by side with my childhood regarding amazingness of like my life, definitely.
And so who was the director at that time of that dance school?
Was Jaime. Jaime was the leader, the supreme leader of the whole thing.
And I'm pretty sure I don't know if you know this guy, Pedrino Matos. I'm pretty sure I think he went there if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
Pedrinho
I've had
Matos.
him
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I've had him on the show, man. He's an amazing dancer.
He is amazing. He's a very cool dude. I like him so much.
I do. Pedrino's amazing, man. He is a wonderful guy, man.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so yeah, so you start that school, man, in 2006, man, and you said it was a wonderful experience for you, man. So after you graduate high school, are you just fully dedicated to dancing at that time in your life, or you consider going to university? Like, what happens for you?
So I was approved for law school. So I started law school 2007, August. But I started dancing December 2006. So I would go to college in the morning, and from there straight to the studio and stay there until like midnight. Wake up and repeat. So I did that for, and of course, law schools, law became more and more demanding because of the internships that you have to do at the firms. So I reduced the amount of dancing a lot, but I would still go. I would still go there. I stopped taking classes 2012 at Jaime Rocha Dance Studio. So for 6 years, I did that, and I graduated in law in 2013. So all my college time was there as well.
And so tell me this, what made you, was it just that your schedule was so hectic? Is that what made you stop going to the dance school?
That's what made me stop. Was that what you asked?
Yeah, why did you stop going? Because you just your law school became so demanding. Is that why you stopped?
Oh, I stopped because I started working more. I as an intern, depending on the firm that you work a lot. You work like crazy, and I couldn't physically do it anymore. It was very tiring as well. And the kind of role that I played in the school, something that we call bolsista, is also it means intern as well, which you don't pay to take classes, any class, but in return you have to do classes with the students, any class in which you are required. So, and it requires some energy, it requires some stamina to do that, and I didn't have it anymore. you know So the dream of all dance intern is to become a paying student, because then you don't have to. Then you can do the class you want, whatever, whoever you want. So I finally was able to pay for a class. Then I paid for a class. Then I became a student in an advanced class in another studio, like paying for it, going. But it was just this one class, and was like after working hours, because I also got a job 9 to 6, 9 to 7 sometimes. And yeah, I just couldn't do it anymore.
I
You know.
understand, man. That's a crazy schedule, man. Um,
Yeah.
I guess I want to hear about your life as a lawyer, man. But hmm, I guess we'll just go with that. Well, actually, let me ask you about the dance school. So you say you spent 6 years at the dance school, man. Tell me this, man. I don't know if you can put it into words, but how do you think your time there, how has that shaped the dancer that you are today? Has that had any influence on the dancer that you are today, if at all?
All the things, man. All the things that I am today are due to those years there. It's a combination of my years there and also my years as a lawyer as well. I started working at law firms in 2009, and I dropped 2017. So it was like many years in that sort of environment, visiting courts and seeing people's struggles in general. Yeah, all those things shaped the dancer that I am today. Like I said, references. I feel like life is better if you have more references of the thing that you want to do. So I learned there, uh, man, so many things. It's even hard to list. Like I think I learned a lot about human relations in those two environments. In law was one aspect of human relations, and in dance was another aspect, human relations. And because in the the main audience of dancing here in Rio at least is elderly, the elderly folk. Uh, Imagine like 17, 18, 19 years old people interacting with 75, 80, 65 years old people, and the shared experiences and the things you learn from them is like shape you forever. So you have a different insight at a very young age. You start to have a different insight about life because you hear stories of these people that had 3 marriages, 5,000 jobs, lived in 20 countries. So you get all this thing. So it was like everything, everything. Again, like best years of my life for sure.
And so you spoke on that, and so I just want to make sure I'm correct. So you graduated from law school in 2013, and so from 13 to 17, you're just full-time lawyer, correct?
Full time, yes.
Mm. Okay, and so tell me about that, man, because I don't really get a chance to speak to too many lawyers, man. So what was 2013 to 2017, man? What was that like for you?
It was nice. For example, I tell people that I miss wearing a suit sometimes. Like it's funny. Uh, the life of a lawyer can be very like frustrating, but sometimes can be cool too. You know, because you get to do cool stuff sometimes. You strategize. There is a lot of strategy involved. There is a lot of figuring out stuff, and there is lots of meetings. You have this puzzle that you have to figure out somehow, and you have the loopholes, and you have the regulations and the statutes and the laws and all the things, and you go over all those things searching for a solution. This is fun. This is cool. uh, 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 Sorry, what was I got lost. What did you ask a question again?
I was just I wanted to hear about your time as a lawyer, man. What was that like for you?
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was fun for some part, but not fun for the most part, because I would see the amount of stress my colleagues were in, like almost all the time. And money was a thing, like a thing of a thing, like the pursuit for money was crazy, and that kind of blind search sometimes would make me feel uneasy because of course they have to sustain their own structure, but sometimes they would, on this thing of sustain their own structure, they would forget about the people. Their humanity sometimes would become reduced to numbers. So I remember in meetings with the boards sometimes, and like they would see the chart of the firm as numbers, and like, oh, there's these people here in this sector, let's take one out. So like there was a very like a dry consideration of things, and that would bother me a little bit. And the money thing, and also the idea that you spend lots and lots of time and neurons figure out about problems that sometimes you don't see any sense in them. It's a very hard thing to do. Uh, but in full, to be honest, I mean, to be fair, there are people that like it. My former boss, she loves it so much. It's her life. She likes to do it. She likes the stress. She likes it. You know, I didn't like it. So, when the conditions to leave showed up, presented themselves, I took them. But
And
the
so yeah,
the life as a lawyer was like that, and it's funny enough that I wouldn't drink anything. I would drink very little. When I started working, like you have the happy hours thing, happy hour after hours thing, and then I started like going out to sit down and drink things that I never did as a when I was dancing and at law school, and then like also my social interactions also changed a little bit. The things I would do for fun changed a little bit. Of course, I would keep dancing, but then I discovered all these other sides that I had no idea about, like sitting down to drink, to talk. So that was cool too. That was really cool. Like I didn't know about. I would look at people sitting down and drinking, like, people, what you doing? You should be dancing. But then I saw the beauty in it, the social aspect of it too. So that was also definitely a positive thing.
okay, man. And you kind of already spoke on it, man. A way out. I'm very curious to hear, man. What changed for you? What was your opportunity out in 2017? What opportunity was presented to you?
Uh, so many things. First one was like I was already planning to leave. Like I had a crisis uh, leading up to the end of law school. I had an existential crisis because I was already not making sense of the lawyer life. But I figured out that law would be a bridge to something else. Like I would do my work the best as I could, save money, and do something else. First, I thought that I wanted to be a cook. Then I thought that I wanted to be a professor. So things changed over the years, but I was already looking into internship, like work study programs abroad. So I was looking into Canada, Australia, England. Uh, but then my father, who is a military, he was assigned to a mission in Washington D.C. for 2 years. That was 2016, and he told me like, Guy, why don't you come and stay with me for a while? Uh, I know that you are unhappy because we are also Portuguese citizens because of my grandfather. So I have the option to study, to do masters in Portugal for very cheap. So I was looking into that, and then I also met this girl that I was in love with, and she was going to the US as well. So, it's just a combination of many factors. So, like, oh, my father's going there, she's going there, I'm going there too, you know. So I went, and of course, I went through the process of quitting a career, because I was going up in the career. I started as a junior lawyer, then I progressed. I had my raises and my promotions and all the things, and I was going there. I was second in command in my department, uh, but I made a decision to become a professor. So my goal was to do masters in Portugal. So I went to the West to take a break from Rio and research education options in Portugal. Yeah. So
And
that's what happens.
okay, I get you, man. I'm very curious, man. I guess were you so unhappy with the work you're doing? Is that what gave you the energy to quit and pursue something different and come to the U.S.?
Both. I was tired of the work, the nature of the work, because the people and the firm were really cool. I still talk to them, I still see them. They are like friends. But the nature of the work and the life in Rio, basically, you know. So was both. I feel like if I had a good experience living here, I don't know if I would have left, because it's really cool to be here. There are so many nice things to do, and the dancing is like all over the place. Like in the same night, you can go to three socials. You can like dance until your feet bleeds. But it's like because of the way of life, sometimes because of the stress that I was constantly in, I felt strangled here. I felt like I could not like be chill here. So I think I left mostly because of how I was feeling living in Rio. uh, I think would be like a little bit 55% the city, 45% the work as a lawyer. Yeah.
I understand, man. I understand, man. You felt you were maybe like suffocating. Um,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. Tell me about your first, I guess, your transition to America, man. What was that like coming to DC, man? And did you speak English at that time at all?
I was what at the time?
Oh, I said so. First part. Tell me about your transition to America. Coming to DC,
Mm,
and I'm very curious. Did you speak English when you first arrived here?
yes. I worked with industrial property. So most of our clients were uh, uh, foreigners. So I did my mails in English, contracts in English. So English was, but I was using lawyer English. Uh, my transition there, to be honest, was incredibly fast. I feel like in the second week I was there already. You know, like I was so eager to experience a different uh, life, in the sense of to experience a different experience of living, that I had my epiphany, like going like the second week, going back from a social, biking like at 3 a.m. and don't being worried. So that was like, oh my God, this is it. So it's really fast. No, no struggles at all transitioning. It was super quick.
Okay, okay. So you land in DC, man, and you said you were going to start researching, going to get your master's and everything. I guess was there a change of plans? Like did something happen that and alter your plans or what?
Totally, yes. I met Ashley Kent. Uh, she, you know her?
I had her on the show recently.
Oh yeah. So I met her, and I was like, it's funny because I saved money not to work, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna save this money to be able to not to work and stuff. But I just can't. I start freaking out if I'm not doing anything, you know. So I offer her my time, like, look, I have time. I'm available. Like, and she was doing things mostly by herself, organizing, strategizing, and I offer her my brain, and we started working together, and she gave me my first class in 2017. So it
Wait,
was
and so
because I met her. Yeah.
my fault, man. I'm so sorry I cut you off. But just real quick
No, it's okay.
for people who are listening who may not know who Ashley Kent is, can you one do me just two things. One, tell people who is Ashley Kent, and be more specific. How did you all actually meet? Please tell me.
Okay. So actually, Kent is like a. I feel like she's like enlightened. I feel like we call her Buddha because, or Mama, because she she's by herself, almost like, not, she had help of course, but she's like the core stone that holds everything together. She doesn't get into drama. She doesn't like, she's super, um, uh, como é que posso dizer?
Fluid.
Yeah, she manages people really well, and she's very strong minded, and definitely passionate about this dance, you know. And you feel like that she wants to do the best thing she can for people. So she's very concerned, sometimes very concerned about everything, you know. So her she has many eyes everywhere. So she's like our, yeah, I think if every Zouk scene had an Ashley Kent, the US, the Zouk scene in the US would progress with more stability. I think Ashley brings stability. You know, she's like this thing that you look out and I go, okay, she's there. You know, and I met her at Interfusion, Interfusion Festival, September 2017. I was at the social there in my corner. I didn't know anybody, and she invited me to dance. And then we danced, and like, who are you? And then conversation started after we danced at Interfusion. And that's all. That's how it started.
Yeah, so yeah. Ashley Kent is the director at District Zouk, which offers Brazilian Zouk in the Washington D.C. area.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Right. Okay. So yeah, so you get introduced to her. She offers you to do, your first class and everything, man. And was it from that point, that you just start teaching?
Yes. My first ever class in a group was in the US in English at District Zouk.
Okay, man. And so I really want to hear about this, man. Going back to that first class, man, what was that like for you teaching your first Brazilian Zoo class?
How was it like to teach my first class?
Yes, sir.
Uh, it was it was man. I It's very hard for me to tap into the memory of how I felt back then. But I feel like, because it's hard, maybe it was because it flowed better than I expected. You know, because I was very passionate about what I was teaching. I I realized, I noticed that there was a need for a content, and I was delivering that content. And it's the content about dancing close together, dancing in close position. And since I was being receiving the opportunity to deliver that content, and it was work, and it was like dancing, and it was like almost like this unreal thing that was happening. I felt like I was just very excited about it. So I feel like it was, yeah, it was just that, just a lot of excitement.
And so you say excitement, I guess, to finally be doing something that you loved again, right? Is that what it was?
Yes, yes, and to do something that I found important. It was more than doing something that I liked. It was doing something that I found relevant. You know.
That's powerful, man. That's
Very,
really powerful, man.
yeah, very, very, very.
So yeah, so you start teaching in 2017, man. And is that just you said things kind of took off for you, man, in 17. So you just start teaching full time and you start becoming more and more recognized and then this is where you are today?
Yes, I always had this dream of doing a class about embrace, about close embrace in dance, because my references growing up as a dancer were people that had a very comfortable connection. They had a very comfortable dance. And I would see the effect that a dance would have on people, you know? And I would see that effect. And I was like, oh my God, I wanna be able to do that. I wanna cause that effect. I wanna be able to provide that feeling. Then I started studying those guys and these ladies. And and I figured out there is a technique behind it. There's a way, there are ways to do it. And I always wanted to build a course, a workshop, to tell people what those techniques are. And I never felt comfortable about doing that here in Brazil because I felt I would not be accepted, something like that. But in the US, I saw the opportunity. And I asked Ashley if I could do that. And she said, of course, because of course she would say, of course. And I ran like three pilots of the workshop. Then in December I had the workshop. You know. Then then a few people from other towns took this workshop, and then they started to spread the word about me, and that's how I started to receive invitations from other cities to teach that same workshop. So I taught this workshop now like 12 times already in different places of the West. And I think it all started there. And then in the local aspect, there were gaps that we needed to fill in the learning curve of our students. So we started introducing new classes, and I started teaching those new classes, and everything started to grow, man. Like started to grow, and then it was like November, December, January, February, March. I think like around April, things started to get crazy.
Of
You know,
2019?
yeah, 2018, April things started to get crazy, and then June, July, I realized I had no time to breathe because I was teaching privates, I was teaching workshops, I was teaching the regular classes. It was all going, 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 and I was like, in the span of 11 months, things got super crazy, super crazy.
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah,
That sounds good though. That sounds wonderful.
yeah. Just a second. Watch, watch. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. Like it was like unbelievable. Yeah, it was crazy, man. And all I think it was because of the word of mouth of the beginning. You know?
And so real quick, I think is the workshop you're speaking of. Are you talking about the universe behind the hug?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
I wanted to ask you about that, man. So real quick, let me ask you this, man. For myself, or maybe someone else who is unable to attend this workshop, man, can you give us maybe something practical, something actionable that we can do to improve our Brazilian Zouk dancing? You know, well, what is something that we could take away from the universe behind the hug that we can apply today?
Uh, hmm, interesting.
It's kind of like a loaded
Can
question,
you
I
repeat the
know.
question again? I have to think.
Yeah,
Can you repeat?
it's all good. Yeah, my fault, man. I said a lot. So just for people, for someone who may be unable to go to your workshop, man, you know, maybe they live some far away place, man, they're unable to come, man. Could you
Mm,
maybe could you just maybe speak on it, man? Something that they can do to improve their dancing, you know?
mm, okay. Well, coming from a Brazilian dance background perspective kind of thing, I feel like the main takeaway that I see in this kind of work is that dancing is twofold. It's like is there is a physical aspect to it, and there's an also a mind aspect to it. Like sometimes you reach a certain level in your dancing that your body can still learn, but your mind might be blocking it. You know. So from a physical perspective, I feel like grounding, footwork, basics is the biggest takeaway because when you hear the name, the universe behind her, it might lead you to think that it's gonna be hugging people for like 7 hours straight, but you actually spend most of this time learning how to walk. Like going over walking exercises, going over grounding exercises. Uh, so I feel like the biggest takeaway for me is for people the realization that what happens above comes from what happens below. So you need you need a good grounding, you need a good base in order to evolve well in the sense like with the objective that I'm setting, which is being able to dance comfortably. That's my main goal, comfort. And then in the mind perspective, it's very easy to forget that there is another human in front of you when you are dancing, especially Brazilian Zouk, in which you have head movements and body movements, and it's so pretty and nice to do, but it's a person, it's a neck, it's a set of bones and muscles that are moving around, and I feel like of the simple awareness of that changes everything. So it's like it helps you as a leader to lead movements inside the followers range of motion, flexibility, possibilities, and also show you as a leader the ability to listen to the other person's body. So when you dance, the conversation changes. You don't use verbs anymore. You don't use words anymore. You use body language, and the development of the ears of your body is something that requires a very specific mindset, which is a willingness to do it. Basically, that. Some people are from another line of thought, uh, and in which the lead leads and the follow follows, like strictly. But the thing that I like to do is share a little bit the 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 who is talking part, you know. So I feel like as a dancer that cannot take the workshop and but wants to take something away from it, take something from it, I think would be work on your basics a lot, like crazy. Work on the simple thing of walking consciously, and realize that you are dancing with another person that might that has a history, has a background, and from the moment that the person woke up to the moment that the person is on the dance floor with you, many things might have happened with that person. You know, bad day at work, traffic, some or amazing things happened with that person throughout the day. So that person will arrive to you with a load of energy that can be very very positive, but can be not so positive. So you developing your ability to listen to the cues that the body gives, that is in a certain that 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 body needs a specific care, so it can evolve, it can have a good dance. You know? So I think those are the two main takeaways of the workshop.
Okay. That's powerful, man. And I don't want to hold you up, man, but real quick, man, please tell me this. Um, you kind of spoke on it, man. But how how can I word this? How does one improve their basic stuff? What do what do they need to keep in mind? Like, what is a good basic step? Can you put that into words?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I feel like a good basic has to. I feel like a person is doing a good basic when I look at them doing the basic, and it looks like they are not doing much, and when it looks natural, when it looks effortless. Especially as an instructor, for example, if you are an instructor, I feel like your basic has to be the easiest thing in the world for you. It's like you're breathing, you know. And to improve that, I feel there is no other way but to repeat, to do it over and over again, and and to attend as many opportunities of practice that you can. As a partner dance form, you need a partner, you know. So to be able to really grasp the the feel of it, you know. So I feel like the best way to improve basics is through repetition. Repetition, practice by yourself and with a partner. But I train a lot by myself, you know. So I want to reach a smoothness with myself. I want to be able to myself do the the basic and myself feel like I'm walking, you know. So there's these two things that you can do. And in Zouk too, we use a lot of body movements, undulations and isolations, and they have an impact on your basics as well. They can have an impact for good, to make it more flowy and to give possibilities inside the basics. So I it's like you by yourself figuring out how your body works, repeating, doing it again, and practicing as much as possible with socials, practicas, and I mean, all the opportunities that you have, like flight hours, right? Like putting in the hours. You know, like yeah, I feel like there is a rush. Sometimes people want to get good in 6 months. Uh, it is possible, but if you are able to put in the hours in the 6 months, amazing. But if you can't, it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be a lot harder. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Um, Real quick, man, I want to ask you like maybe two or three more questions. Do you have time for it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, you can answer real quick, man. Just answer real quick, and we can knock them out. All right. I don't want to hold you up too much longer, man. But so
Okay.
real quick, man. For someone who is a beginner in a dance, man, and they feel like they're not progressing, like they're not getting better, they're stuck in this rut. What advice could you give them?
Hmm. I think before I would ask what, why they're feeling stuck, because it can be many things. Can be like a mental space that they are in, of because I we face this a lot. Like the students get very frustrated of because they are not progressing. But then you see that that person is only taking one class a week, 1 hour and a half per week, you know. So it's then it's hard, you know. But if somebody is beyond the classes, is going to the socials and attending the practicas, uh, then I would go to that person and maybe dance with that person and talk to that person about uh, the history of their bodies, if they have any history with sports, with playing outside, or if they spent most of their time sitting on a desk or just playing video games or not moving, you know. So it's for me it's really really hard to say in general something because each case the cases vary a lot, and uh, I and then that's a lawyer answer because it depends, it definitely depends on the on the reality of that person.
Yeah, I understand, man. Let me ask you, I guess the continuation to that question then, man. For someone who is an intermediate and they want to get to
Mm,
that and they want to get to that advanced level, what does it take
mm.
for them to get there?
Dude, that's the discussion of the moment. I was just last week talking about that with my instructors. No, like I was actually asking them, how do you separate? What do you consider a beginner and advanced, intermediate and advanced? Because the intermediate part is huge. Mostly in classes. Sometimes you have beginner 1 and 2, and then you have intermediate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and advanced 1, 2. You know, so the intermediate is the biggest chunk. You know, uh, I, I I I can only say that personally. You know, like my opinion about intermediate going to advanced, and I feel like the advanced has a mastery of the movements that he or she is able to break it, change it, go back to it. You know, start, stop in the middle, do it again, reverse. Is able to play with the movement in any way they want. You know, so it's not vocabulary as much like how many moves you know how to do or how difficult they are. It is more like what you are able to do with the things that you know already. you know so that's why sometimes you have people that are really advanced in footwork but intermediate in upper body work, or highly advanced in upper body and head movement but like beginner in footwork. So you have in Zouk, you have this kind of things that happen, this different from other dances maybe, uh, other Brazilian dances that are mainly footwork. So I feel like you become an advanced when you are you can take a movement and do whatever you want with that movement. Like it becomes a source from other movements. So when you are intermediate, what happens at the beginning is that you repeat a formula. So you have this movement, so you put with that movement, and you put with that movement. I feel like the dancer starts one, blends into the other, and bring back to the other one, and of course musicality, like your mastery of the music. Like you can play with rhythm, with melody. You can do whatever you want, and musicality is indeed one of the most difficult arts that you can master when you dance. It's super freaking hard, and I consider advanced the person that can, beyond breaking down movement, is taking a song and being able to dance to the voice, dance to the violin, dance to the guitar, dance to the beat, able to do whatever they want to do with the music. So I feel like it's a combination of musicality and mastery of what you already know.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I was actually about to ask you about musicality, but I think you already answered it, man. So that's awesome.
yeah,
Um,
it's the thing
yeah,
for me, man.
um, oh, so wait, real quick. Let me ask you it anyway. How does someone improve their musicality? Is that just by listening to
Mm,
music?
no, no. I feel like beyond listening to music is dancing to the music and like challenging yourself. When we had labs in dance. In dance, we call labs a form of class in which you explore a concept really deep, and you go sometimes to the metaphysical. So it's like it's more outside of a regular thing. We did many labs about musicality in which we had to dance to the voice, only to the voice. So you play a song, and when there are only instruments playing, you don't move. When the singer sings, you move to the voice. You step to the syllables, you step to the words. you know you then you have to catch the piano with your arm, you have to catch the guitar with your head. So you have this exercise that makes your body uh wanting to move, like makes your body and your ears trained to listen to the different things and be able to isolate your body and take one thing or the other whenever you want. And in combination with the beach, with the stepping. So you train musicality, but not only getting used to as many different kinds of music as possible, but also taking a song, playing and like dancing to the different uh, elements of that song. That's how we train, and that's the only way I know. So that's how I teach musicality. That's how I do musicality.
Okay, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. And this is the last question I want to ask you, man. Last one.
Yeah.
Can you give me one tip that can make anyone a better dancer immediately?
Wow. That's so hard. One chip that make everyone become a better dancer immediately. Damn, dude. Immediately. Well, I'm gonna say this. I feel like one chip should have someone become a better dancer immediately. If you amplify the meaning of better, uh, I mean better meaning not only better technically, but better as a person, like a person that dances, a better human that dances. I would feel like one tip that I would give is the thing that I told you. It's like the willingness, the want to provide a good dance. Like the awareness that there is a human in front of you, and you have an amount of power in your hands that you can give that person an amazing time, even if you don't know much, even if you are just beginning. Sometimes just the mindset changes everything. Like I read in this book that in the same way that your body produces saliva when you know that food is coming, uh, your body can produce chemicals and release hormones if you train yourself to tell yourself that you're about to have a good time. So it's almost as if your body gets ready to have a good time. So if you tell yourself that you are about to give a good time, your body will get ready to give a good time. So your touch will change, your perception of the other person will change. So all these things will change. And again, using the amplifying the concept of better, not only technically, né? Because I don't know a tip that I could give people right now to become a better dancer technically. beyond like, dude, go take classes, go practice. I would say uh, 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 have the mindset of somebody that can provide, can give a good dance, can have a good dance, so your body gets ready to it. You vibrate this thing, like you emanate this thing, and people can notice those things. So, in a strict sense of better technically, a chip classes. Uh, in the sense of better as a broader sense, mindset. Like work the mindset of the dancer, of the social dancer more than anything, and work like to understand this power that you have.
Yeah, that's awesome,
I
man.
think
That's awesome. Hey, I wanna thank you so much, Gui, for taking time out your day to talk to me, man.
no problem. Thank you for the interest. So nice to talk
Yeah,
about those
man.
things.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I really did, man. I could tell how passionate you are about Brazilian Zouk and just dancing in general, man. I really can tell.
Yeah, it's this thing I love. It's all I think about.
Hey, so real quick, Gui, tell me, man, what are some of your upcoming events? What do you have going on in your life?
Yes. So on the 7th, I go back to the West, and I go immediately to a festival at Reno. Reno. I think it's in Arizona, Nevada. I don't know where Reno
Yeah,
is.
yeah, Reno, Nevada, exactly. That's in the desert. You're gonna be hot, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hot there.
Yes. Ready for the hot. It's hot here, so it's fine. And then I go to Interfusion in DC, Interfusion Festival. Then I have a festival. Then I go to Portland for another workshop that I have called Embrace Zouk Weekender. Then in February, I'm mostly in DC, but I have a trip to Canada. So yeah, I'm resisting to put together some sort of website where I have my schedule over there, but I think I'm gonna do that. Uh, yeah, but January I have Reno, then Interfusion, then Portland, one after the other.
Okay, sure enough, man. Do you know the names of the congresses in Reno and Portland?
So let me see here the Reno one. Uh, it's a big name. Uh, never remember the full names of the things. Oh, it's Reno Latin Dance Fest and Zouk Urban Kiss.
Okay,
So it's a very
okay.
big name. Yeah.
It is a big name.
So it's a big name. It's a big name. It's yeah. 2020 Reno Latin Fest and Zouk Urban Kiss.
Okay, that's awesome, man.
And yeah, man, it's all the dances, not only Zouk. And Interfusion Festival, of course,
That's in DC.
and in DC, and Embrace Zouk Weekender, which is an
Okay,
event that
that's the
is
one in
just
Portland,
me
right?
and yeah.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. And real quick, man. Last question for you, man. How can people get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you?
I think the best way today is Facebook. The best way today is Facebook. Like send me a message on Facebook, and I will reply. Might
Simple
take
as
some
that.
time depending on if it's a weekend. It might take a while for me to respond, but if it's in weekdays, I can respond a lot faster.
Yeah, perfect, man. That's perfect. Like I said, Gui, man, I don't want to hold you up any longer, man. I really do appreciate you taking time out your day to talk to me, man. Thank you so much, Gui.
Thank you, man. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for all the changes that we had to do with our call. Thank you so much.
Of course, man. No, I really appreciate it, man. See, I think this will do it for this episode of the Two Left Feet podcast. Thank you so much, Gui. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right.
Thank you, man. You too.
Hey, all right, Gui. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.
That's all it is.
Hey everyone, if you made it this far to all to the end of the video, I want to thank you so much. My overall goal with making these interviews and these episodes is to give a voice to dancers, to give them a platform to speak their story. So if this is of value to anyone, then that means the world to me. My overall goal is to give value to the dance community. So, if you find no value in this, then I urge you to please let me know where I can improve on. I truly want to, just give value and content to the dance community. So please let me know how I can improve, where I'm messing up, because to be 100% honest with you, I'm learning along the way as I do this. I truly am. So to be able to interact with the dance community, it means the world to me, because it gives me feedback and it lets me know what I'm doing right, where I can improve upon, what I'm doing wrong, which I feel like might maybe more important. So please, if you all could comment and just let me know what you think, it means the world to me, because that feedback just helps me improve. So please comment as well. Please like and subscribe. That means a lot as well. But I want to say thank you so much for just watching this, because it means the world to me. I want to take you on this journey of the Two Left Feet podcast. I'm very excited for it. So once again, thank you so much.